Okay, good morning and welcome everyone to our second partner training webinar. So the idea behind these sessions was basically just to spend some time going over some of our lesser known or underutilized features. Lots of our partners and customers see us as a go-to for product recommendations, which is great on the one hand, but on the other hand, Nosto is able to do a whole lot more than just recs. So last time we looked at insights and segmentation and saw how having better visibility and analytics in terms of people's behavior on a site and being able to then use this information to group or segment customers enables merchants to serve hyper-personalized experiences. And this is where content personalization comes in. So not only are we able to make super personalized product recommendations, but we can actually personalize every element of the page. Today, the UK General Manager, James White, will be talking about the key ingredients for great content personalization. And then our head of customer experience will dive into the back end. We'll then have 10 minutes at the end for questions. So please ping us just in the chat as we go along if you think of anything you'd like to ask us.
Cool. So thank you everyone for joining. I'm James, as earlier mentioned, part of the UK team. So just looking at key ingredients for great content personalization. The first an obvious kind of key part of that is data and segmentation. So if we look at this slide on the top left, that's using curated lifecycle segments or segments created through our segment builder. Placements, so defining areas of the site that the content will be amended, adjusted, and we'll show you that a little bit later in this webinar. And then finally, great content. Now that comes from the retailers themselves, agencies, or partners like you guys, helping them build great content to be shown to different segments of customers. So now we're going to look through a selection of examples of how content personalization is delivered today and what that can look like and the various benefits of it. One of the first key ones is paid channels. So almost all of our customers today are spending anywhere from £10 to £100,000 and above on paid media. That can be affiliate campaigns, Google Shopping, all of the above and anything in between. And it's really important that when you're paying out a CPC or a CPA for your ads, you want to get a return on ad spend. And a lot of people don't realize that personalization can have a big impact on that. So in this example, this customer, Skin City, they have basically built a Nosto recommendation onto the page where you'll show Google shopping customers a specific type of recommendation. We just saw the product page in kind of standard mode with product recs at the bottom of the page. Now we go back to the same product through Google Shopping. You can see here we click on the Skin City ad specifically, and we trigger the alternatives right at the top of the page. Generally, the reasoning behind this is because when customers are looking through shopping ads, they're generally tabbing multiple different brands or businesses that they can buy the same product from, looking for deliverability, price matching, etc. And those are the key factors affecting bounce. So what this is aimed at doing is presenting the most relevant products at the top of the page. I guess one way to further enhance this would be to better expose the delivery messaging, but this customer actually does that quite well. At the top, they've actually got some messaging around free track delivery, 5 stars, and actually an authorized Medicaid stockist. And while we're looking at Medicaid products, so pretty good kind of subtle but effective personalization there. The next one we're looking at are VIP and product launches. So this can be achieved in a variety of different ways, but this Dunhill campaign is quite involved. I would say it's using a lot of different kind of parts of content personalization. But if we roll the recording here, You can see the first thing is the banner. You've got 10 days before they launch their aquarium collection, which is a unique collection to Dunhill. And if you're not already in a VIP segment, you're triggered a pop-up as well. And this allows you to subscribe and get early access to the aquarium campaign. Once you trigger that campaign, you get shot into the aquarium category page where you can preview it early, preview all the products. You see the banner at the top of the page. And now that we're back on the home page, having entered the segment, we've got 1 day knocked off our timer, hence the early access. You can also see on the left-hand side, we've got the menu option available for aquarium now, because we've kind of unlocked that as a VIP member, and the sticky banner at the top of the page. There was also a kind of side segment to this where customers who weren't in the aquarium collection had kind of the more classic Dunhill styles exposed to them. Next, looking at kind of life cycle, or secret sales we call it here. In this example, Woodhouse Clothing, they sell kind of luxury brands, normally at discounted rates, but they've got various tiers of discounting across the customer set. And what they do is they look at customers' affinity to discounts and certain levels of discounts. They then segment them in the CRM system. And then when they're doing their mail outs once a day, once a week, whenever it might be, different tiers of discount affinity get different discounts depending on their sensitivity to them. And you can see here that customers without the appropriate email UTM tag don't enter the segment and just see over 200 lines. And then you can see those with the UTM parameter, they get the extra 10% off banner, like this, the kind of secret sale vibe. And this can be achieved again in a variety of different ways. It could be through a subtle bar, or even a change in products, depending on people's affinity to sale products from Ralph Lauren, for example. One of the simplest and most obvious campaigns are just category affinities. These are kind of the easy place to start. They tend to be the biggest campaigns for your CEOs and your kind of top dogs at businesses. They're really obvious. So here you can see on this brand Mocha, they sell kind of kids furniture and apparently adult furniture now. But here you can see we've got just arrived, sale, and nursery. Again, they're based on 3 segments and customers' affinity to those segments. Like I said, great place to start, easy place to start, but actually some of the things we've shown previously can be a lot more effective, although they seem a lot more subtle. And then last but not least, on the kind of ideas side of things, we've got, I guess, the segments that we've been looking at before are more orientated around customers' affinities, whereas actually these segments are looking at the specific product you're viewing and the type of kind of messaging you want to show around that product. It's obviously taking the customer into account, but more looking at the product specifically. So if we look at the top two screenshots, we've got retailer Donald Russell. So they sell kind of meats, fish, seafood. They also do selection of ready meals as well. So they've got 2 different messages. So if you're looking at foods in the convenience category, you can see that they are highlighting that they're professionally frozen with no added preservatives, obviously perfect for a ready meal. Whereas the non-convenience foods, so that actually need making up as part of a meal, unless you want to eat pork and apple sausages on their own. So here you've got frozen at the peak of perfection. It's very subtle, very marginally different messaging, but they felt it was really appropriate for customers to be showing this, looking at the different category types. And then at the bottom of the page, you've got batteries for brands. So here you've got Toolstop and Bosch. So they're looking at Bosch products, and they've got these certain battery packs that fit in certain products. And it could have been the case that they've got maybe an incentive from Bosch themselves when they're buying wholesale. They might get a better margin on these battery packs. So obviously Toolstop wants to sell as many of them as they can. So when any product fits this particular battery, they're obviously pushing the £10 off with the extra battery pack. But this could be achieved in, again, a lot of different ways. I think the alternative to this campaign was if you were looking at a Bosch product without this battery pack, you were shown a different incentive as well. So subtle, but a slightly different way of delivering personalization to the more, let's say, obvious examples we've seen before. And then it's all very well showing all this cool, flashy, changey kind of stuff on the different page types, but what's the actual increase in the key e-commerce KPIs? So here you can see, I'm not going to read them all out, but you can see here Dunhill and Toolstop. Dunhill campaign was based on exposure to that specific aquarium campaign, and then their transaction value after it. Toolstop was ongoing based on some branded campaigns that we did for them. So some nice results there. These are available on the website. The Dunhill campaign actually just went live yesterday on our client's kind of case study part of the website. So take a look there. Cool. And now I'm going to hand over to my colleague Rory, who's going to take you through how to actually build the campaigns.
Thank you, James. Just going to switch screens here for a second. The examples that James has shown have been pretty varied. What I want to do today is ultimately show a kind of real case example from one of our customers, Slater Menswear. What these guys wanted to do is they reached out to me and they said that they wanted to render a banner on their suit pages that would let new customers know that they could receive free alterations on their first purchase. So historically, this would have been potentially challenging to do. And what we've basically done for them is made them able to do that based on a couple of simple rules and just by getting an asset from them. So the way that we started this was they sent me across an image. This is what we want to do. We want to put this on our page. So pretty simple. So the way that we approach content creation here is basically, who do you want to target? Where do you want to target them? And what do you want to target them with? So we've got the who and the where and the what. And the first part of that is the segmentation. And if you missed it, last week we did a webinar, specifically on segmentation that will be available. If you missed that one, then reach out to us because that's kind of more of a deep dive into that. But essentially our segmentation allows you to segment customers based on custom affinities. We build some out of the box as well. And we have like a real plethora of tools that you can use to kind of really start to segment out your customers, much like other sort of data systems or CRM tools out there. So I'd advise you to go back and take a look at that if you haven't seen it. So we first have the who, and these guys want to target first-time visitors and prospects and returning visitors, basically anyone who's in the sort of top part of the funnel, i.e. they haven't made their first purchase, but they're looking like they're going to. And the logic being that, we want to be able to show them that they get free alterations, which is hopefully going to tip them over the line into becoming a first-time customer, at which point they would move into this lovely Nosto created segment. So we know what they want to show to whom, and now what we need to work out is where we're going to do it. So looking at this page here, the brief is kind of to inject it below the add to bag. And so what I firstly need to do is I need to create a placement. And Nosto placements are essentially means of delivering either content or recommendations through Nosto onto your pages. We've basically got two types of placement that we use. The first of which is a static placement, and this is a div tag that sits on the source code. So this actually gets delivered from the DOM when our server the server loads the page. So this would be sitting on the page already, and it's a Nosto element that kind of waits to get sent something via our JavaScript or via the iframe. The other type that we have that means we can be a little bit more versatile now is a dynamic placement. And this basically allows us to go and grab a pre-existing element that you guys may have written when you built out a site or something like that, and we can then modify it in a numerous different ways. So we can essentially go and find one of these pre-existing elements, and we can mutate them somehow or manipulate them. So we can replace them. So we can take a selector and replace the whole thing. We can insert it as the first thing. We can insert it as the last thing. And then these kind of new features that we've released are inserting before and after. So if you grab your CSS selector, you can then say, hey, actually, I just want to use this as an anchor and I want to put something before it. So Nosto now allows you to do that. I think where this is interesting for you guys is if you're dealing with merchants or retailers who are not particularly technical themselves and they're quite reliant on you guys, you can build a sort of a professional services model out of creating placements for your customers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to build a placement. So pretty simple. We're going to have a look in here. I need to go and inspect the element and basically find the area of the site that I'm going to manipulate. And what I want it to be is I want it to be the last thing in this container. So I've got this container on the product page and I want this, this banner here to be the last thing that gets injected into this container, so below the add to bag button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to copy my selector. And I'm then going to go in here and I'm going to call my placement product page free alterations. This sits on the product page. This gets sent to us by the Nosto tagging, so it tells us which page we should be rendering the placement on. It's a dynamic placement because we're injecting Nosto into a pre-existing element. And this is for my reference. So this we can just call product page alterations placement. And then in here, I simply put in the selector that I'm working with. I don't need all of that detail. I can just actually grab the div, which is the kind of the key element that I'm looking for because this is unique. So I've gone in, I found my selector, and what I want to do is the method, I don't want to replace it because obviously that will remove everything, including the add to cart button, which wouldn't be particularly smart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert it as last. And then the next thing that we need to do is we need to actually preview it to make sure that our placement is doing what we need it to do. So Nosto allows you to do this using our debug toolbar, which hopefully you guys are familiar with already. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the URL and I'm just going to jump back into here and I'm going to preview the placement that I've just built. So as you can see, Nosto is now, when the DOM loads, it looks for that element and it says, right, I know I need to do something here. And the preview is just alerting me to that. So the next thing I need to do now is create my content campaign. So we've got the who, and we've got the where, which is our placement, and now we need to do the what. So fortunately, I've never had an opportunity to say this, but I've made one earlier. So here is one that I've made earlier. I'm going to show you the content builder, and I will go through some of the steps. But essentially, what we allow users to do is we have ways of sending content to these placements that we've created. So we have a campaign here. You can call this whatever you like. Again, this is back office use, but then we have a placement, and that's the thing that we just created. So we could say product page free alterations. So that's where we're going to send it to. And then we have our segments, and in here you can see all of these different segments, and you can choose multiple segments in here. So if I was building this from scratch, I would go first time, prospects, and returning visitors. So these are the segments I'm targeting in this position, and then I can build the content. So there's a couple out of the box sort of content building tools here. We've got a floating bar, which is highlighted on the Dunhill example. We have an image. This is really, really useful if you have someone who's, again, not particularly technical. You can use our asset manager and you can essentially upload assets to Nosto and then just drop them into here. We'll go and check out my content campaign in a second and you'll see that's what I've done. But the last bit that's sort of more interesting, hopefully for you guys, is that we actually have a HTML builder. And this is where you can get far more complex and you can refer to existing classes, you can write in custom HTML, you can build a list of USPs. I mean, quite honestly, the the only limit to this is kind of your imagination and what your customers want to do with it. So it's a super powerful tool, really, really, really useful. Yeah, I mean, you name it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back in and I'm going to find a content campaign I already created, which is here. And in this example, I've actually just used the image uploader in the interest of time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my placement, which is product page free alterations, which I just selected. I'm also going to go in here and I'm going to grab my target audience. So I've got my first time visitors, I've got returning visitors, and I've got prospects. Ooh, excuse me. I've got prospects in here as well. So as you can see, all the people that are at the top of the funnel that we want to essentially render this content campaign for. Just a note on this as well, when I set this up, it will be displaying, it will be on the page, it will get sent to the page, but it will be hidden, which is really neat because we want to be able to preview things kind of quickly and easily as they would appear. And so what I'll do now is I'll just show you this. So I'm going to save my content campaign. And then I'm going to jump back into here and I'm going to just start a new session here. So let me go back here. And let's go and open the Nosto debug toolbar. Oh, it's already open for me, fantastic. So the Nosto debug toolbar obviously lets you preview features kind of in situ. And sort of most importantly, it allows you to preview experiences for different segments as you see fit. So if you're building out segments for different customers, you can go in and you can preview them on the fly. And when the CEO says, we need the front page to look different for these people, then you can go in and you can say, hey, this is what it looks like for the wedding customers. And then this is what it looks like for the work suit fans. And then, I don't know, this is what it looks like for the first time customers, for example. So we're not interested in that at the moment because we're going to jump into the PDP. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a suit page and I'm going to use the Nosto debug tool to preview this as a new customer. So let's load up the suit page. Talk amongst yourselves while this loads. And here we are. I'm going to go to my features on the left-hand side, and I'm going to preview this as a first-time visitor. And hopefully, if I've done my work right, we should be able to see the PDP campaign coming in. So give me 1 second. It's being extremely slow to load. Apologies. Not due to Nosto, by the way, because obviously Nosto loads asynchronously. So just give me a second here. One of the cool things as well with our content delivery tool is in the, there we go. So pretty simple, quick and easy. We've built our content campaign, we've decided who we're going to show it to, and then we're able to go in and we're able to preview it in situ. The cool thing about this is as well, like any of these you can kind of duplicate and spin up. So if you need to create multiple campaigns for different segments, once you've built this HTML out or this specific content campaign, it's really, really easy to kind of spin them up and send different things to different segments. So yeah, hopefully that's given you guys a bit of an overview of how it works. Obviously, if you have further questions, please ping us after the webinar. I'll be happy to answer. I don't know if there's actually any questions in the chat, but yeah, feel free to send them in now. And yeah, thanks for listening. I'm gonna go back to Ellie just now.
Hey, so I think we just had one question about whether the recording is available after the webinar, which it is. We'll be sending it out probably just to all the attendees like after this. The deck there.
Yes, indeed.
The only other thing I wanted to mention, I think, was, I mean, obviously, if you have anything else that comes up just ping us obviously after this. That's my email just there. Also, our next partner training is on October the 17th. It will be on ABTO, which is our newest feature, which is coming out in October, which is basically A/B testing and optimization. So lots of exciting stuff to cover there as well. And that's it from us for now, I think.
Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thanks,
and speak to you soon. Oh, there is one more question, I think, just quickly right before the end there. Where can we access the first session segments? Great question. We will email it out in the email that goes out after this, and then I think we're going to centralize it somehow as well. So keep your eyes peeled and we'll send something through. Thanks everyone. Provided there isn't anything else, we'll close off for now. Great, and feel free to email after the fact as well. Thank you guys.
Thanks guys.